Got a question asking if a person that's going to buy a house that has a renter in it and that buyer plans on moving into the house, if they could terminate the tenancy for an owner move-in type of eviction. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, I'm going to talk about Tenants Protection Act for our video purposes here. Landlord may be subject to a local eviction control ordinance, which may allow for an owner move-in eviction, but it might vary significantly from the state's Tenant Protection Act. So my general recommendation to buyers of property are, if you do plan on purchasing the property for a specific reason and it's tenant occupied, that you go talk to landlord's counsel before you complete your purchase, because what you don't know may end up harming you. For example, if this tenancy is subject to the Tenants Protection Act, some tenancies aren't, such as if this person was buying a single family home and they had the proper Tenant Protection Act exemptions, they don't have to do an owner move-in eviction under California state law if they have all the requisite paperwork. However, an owner move-in eviction under the Tenants Protection Act is still a little bit complex because of all the rules that they added last year and the amendments to the TPA in 2024. So just remember a couple of things if for an owner that wants to move in. Number one, if the tenancy is entered into on or after July 1, 2020, there has to be a term in the lease that allows for a unilateral termination of that tenancy. Second is the owner has to be a qualified person, such as they have to be the owner's spouse, domestic partner, or child, parent or grandchild relationship, a first degree relative can move in as well. Those are the qualified people. And then the new additional rules to the Tenants Protection Act that a landlord will have to comply with is the landlord doesn't have any similar unit that is vacant, basically. So if there's a vacancy on the property that is same or similar to the tenancy that this landlord intends to terminate the tenancy and move into, they can't do an owner move-in eviction if they have a vacancy of a similar unit. So you got to be careful about that. And the biggest thing that landlords have to worry about if they're doing an owner move-in eviction under the Tenants Protection Act is they have to move in within 90 days of terminating the tenancy. So when you give the 60-day notice and, on the 60th day that your tenant moves out type deal, that owner or that qualified relative has to move into the property for at least within 90 days. And they have to live there continuously for a year or greater, 365 days or more. So if you're buying a property and you're going to do an owner move-in eviction, you better understand the Tenants Protection Act and you better have legal counsel explain that to you. Because if you fail to terminate the tenancy in the proper way under the Tenants Protection Act, or you don't live in the property for the requisite amount of time, you could be subject to a lawsuit for actual damages and have to reimburse the tenant for their move-in expenses. You have to offer them the first right of refusal to come back in. And because the Tenants Protection Act has attorney fee and provisions and so forth, you could be subject to reimbursing your tenant attorney's fees and costs if there ever is a lawsuit. So that being said, you need to be careful. That's in addition to, in your termination notice, you have to either elect to waive the last month's worth of rent to the tenant or provide them a payment equal to 1 month's worth of rent within 15 days after you give the termination notice, if you're electing to pay cash, basically, or a cash payment. So you got to know all the rules. You got to know how long you have to live there and so forth. And if you don't have to terminate the tenancy for an owner move-in eviction, if you're an exempt landlord, I would probably not go through the TPA to terminate your tenancy this way. Okay, you could, if you're missing the Tenants Protection Act exemption, for example, you could sometimes you're able to add that with a change in terms of tenancy and wait 30 days. But you got to talk with landlord's counsel, and that person's going to need to look at your individual circumstances, because your local rules may vary, your lease may vary, and it may change the outcome of how you terminate the tenancy. So folks, if you are in the Northern California area and you're purchasing a property and you're wondering if you can terminate a tenancy to facilitate you moving in, whether it's pursuant to the Tenant Protection Act or not, feel free to reach out to us. We might be able to help out. If you go to our profile below, you can go to our website and you can book a free case review session. A couple of questions to ask if will be a good fit or not. But put your questions and comments down below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.